I mentioned in my last video that I hadn't watched much in horror between 1966 and 1972-73. But that's not entirely true, because I did watch The Twilight Zone in those years, The Munsters, or The Addams Family. Also, there was a bunch of other stuff I did. My father took me probably in 1965 to the theater on the Air Force Base, and I was left there by myself to watch a Hammer film, Dracula. Not sure which one it was, but I have a feeling it was 5 or 6 years old already. And then on top of that, I did watch things on TV. If my mom fell asleep on the couch in the early evening, I would wait till midnight and watch a horror movie. And I remember one in particular, and I'm sure it was called The She-Woman, or The She-Monster. And I've looked for it since. I can't find it. But I do remember the opening, the camera panning down a laneway, like out in the country, surrounded by trees and blah, blah, blah. I also shut the TV off, so I never saw the movie. And I almost forever use a long laneway surrounded by trees in a lot of my stories. So it did have an effect on me, even though I have no idea what movie it was. Earlier, got into music a lot heavier. You did listen to whatever was on the radio, so that explains my really liking of the Grassroots and the Hollies and bands like that. They do influence me, but it was definitely Cooper and Deep Purple and later on David Bowie that influenced my writing. As far as authors, I did read some books, Tarzan and stuff, but I never saw horror comics. I never saw anything like that. And once I moved to Prescott and Mom moved in with this guy, or this guy moved in with us after a vote, I didn't even know who he was. So I lost the vote. My sister knew who he was for a year and was bought with candy. There's a lot of stuff that comes from my past in that town, as much as I dislike the town. And I didn't have many friends at all. And I didn't have relatives come by and see how we're doing. We never had any of that. So until I was about 17, when I left Prescott finally and went to St. Catharines, that's when my life really opened up and I really got writing. I started writing songs in Prescott when I was 11, and I did that until a couple people embarrassed me. My mother for one, and her boyfriend for another, at different times. But anyways, that's what it was like. I started reading books and that, and not many. I would get a whole bunch of books out of the library and not even read one because I wasn't allowed to read at home. I had things to do. I had to look after my mother. I had to look after the apartment. I had to look after cooking. I was a looker after her. So I dreamt all my horror stuff and I loved it. So anyways, that's part of the journey into horror for me at the moment. And until next time, keep yourself occupied with horror.